Dr. Zak Naik claims that the Quran is the solution to world peace and world problems.
Quran has the solution for all the problems. Whether it be an individual problem, whether it be a family problem, whether it be a society problem, whether it be a national problem, whether it be a global problem. Quran has the solution for all the problems. Therefore, I say Quran is a global necessity.
But Brigitte Gabriel claims there is another manual written in blood and hidden in plain sight.
The Muslim Brotherhood wrote a plan in 1982, a 100-year plan for radical Islam to infiltrate and dominate the West and establish an Islamic government on earth. In the counter-terrorism circles, this plan became known as the Project.
If you are new here, you are welcome. If you are not, welcome back. I'm Dr. K, a theologian, consultant, and polemist. Kindly do me a favor. Subscribe and smash the notice bell so that we can continue bringing you more deep dives like this that cuts through the noise and exposes what is underneath. In this next segment, episode 2, Gabriel is about to do something few dare to do. She's going to strip away political correctness and attempt to solve a 1,400-year-old puzzle. Why terror groups from different parts of the world, speaking different types of languages, from different culture, and yet all act with the same exact brutality? Is it a coincidence, or there is a source code for global jihad? By the end of this clip, you'll see a historical blueprint Gabriel believes connects 7th century Medina to modern day headlines of ISIS and Hamas. This isn't just an ordinary story. It is a DNA of conflict that hasn't stopped for over a millennium. Here is the clip.
I ended up moving to Israel in 1984 and becoming a news anchor for world news in the Middle East, covering world events and reporting on world events. And I worked as a news anchor from 1984 till 1989. And that's when we started seeing a rise of terrorist activities around the globe and terrorist attacks. And as I read the news night after night, I started realizing that there was a pattern developing. The name of the perpetrators, no matter where the terrorist activity took place, no matter on what continent, the name of the perpetrators were always Muslims. Ahmed, Muhammad, Hussein, Ali. The name of the victims were always Westerners, Christians and Jews. Terry Waite, Terry Anderson, Colonel Higgins, the Akili Lauro, the TWA flight, the Pan Am flight, and I can go on and on. As a matter of fact, in my first book, titled Because They Hate, I list pages upon pages of all the attacks that the Islamists perpetrated against the West and against America, where America hit the snooze button and went back to sleep. And I started realizing that what I used to think was a regional problem between a majority Muslim Middle East trying to either kill or expel the minority Christians and Jews had become a worldwide problem. But the world was not paying attention. The world was not connecting the dots. And isn't this exactly what the 9/11 Commission report said to us? We lacked imagination. It's not that we did not know that the terrorists want to attack the United States. It's not that we did not know that Al-Qaeda wants to attack the United States. After all, they attacked us the first time in 1993 with the bombings of the World Trade Center. They attacked the Kubar Towers in 1995. They attacked our embassies in Kenya and Tanzania in 1997. They attacked the USS Cole in 2000. And then they were so sure, so safe in our apathy, in our ignorance, in our lack of interest, that they came back and re-attacked the World Trade Center the second time in 2001. And this time brought the buildings down and killed almost 3,000 Americans. It's not that we did not know what they wanted to do to us. After all, we have never been faced with an enemy that tells us exactly why they hate us, how much they hate us, how they want to kill us, why they want to kill us. They not only tell us about it, they issue press releases about it, they write about it on the internet, they even record a video press release and mail it to Al Jazeera, they don't mail it, by courier, to air worldwide to tell us how much they hate us. And under all administrations since 2001, every single one of them buried their head in the sand, and none of them wanted to discuss the problem, nor the ideology, or what is driving them. And it all started with President Bush. I'm an equal opportunity offender here, because the national security issue is an American issue. It's not a Republican issue, it's not a Democratic issue. President Bush came out immediately saying, Islam is a religion of peace. Everybody, all our elected officials were bending backward and forward, tying themselves up like a pretzel, trying to run through the first red light to get to the nearest mosque to tell the Muslim, it's not your fault, you had nothing to do with this, Islam has nothing to do with it. Instead of calling the Muslim community on the carpet and saying, how can we have 19 hijackers that came out of your community from all over the United States, and none of you came forward and said anything. And don't tell me these 19 people just dropped from the sky. Nobody wanted to discuss the ideology. They told us it was Al-Qaeda's problem. Once we get rid of Al-Qaeda, everything's going to be fine. It's only Al-Qaeda. They ignored all other terrorists across the globe. Al-Qaeda was our problem. Well, now, when you look at it, now we have ISIS, obviously. And now when you look, now all you hear about on television is ISIS, ISIS, ISIS. When was last time you heard anything about Al-Qaeda? Unless Al-Qaeda said something to ISIS and then we reported. Like what happened this week. But everything now, the talk du jour is ISIS. That's our problem.
The Unified Front. We begin with a question that baffles most intelligence agencies. What bonds Boko Haram in Africa, Lashkar-e-Taiba in India, and ISIS in the Middle East? They don't share a language or a culture. Gabriel argues that by ignoring a common thread, ideology, Western leaders are fighting a ghost they cannot see. Watch as she leads a global chorus of terror and challenges the idea that these are just isolated incidents or regional grievances. Here's the clip.
But nobody is talking about the ideology that is bonding all terrorists across the globe. When you look at what's bonding them all together, and you start looking at terrorist organizations across the globe, you start realizing whether it's Boko Haram in Nigeria, whether it's Al-Shabaab in Somalia, whether it's Lashkar-e-Taiba in India, Ansar al-Sharia in Libya, ISIS in Iraq al-Sham, Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Al-Ikhwan al-Muslimun in Egypt, it doesn't matter what name they go by. What brings them all together is the ideology. Whether they are black, it transcends all color. I mean, these organizations don't even speak the same language. Boko Haram in Nigeria is black. They don't speak Arabic. Al-Shabaab in Somalia, Lashkar-e-Taiba in India, they don't speak Arabic, they're Indians. When you start looking at this and you start thinking, how can our government and our leadership misrepresent the truth for us or lie to us for so long? But that's the reality we are dealing with, and it's about time we discuss the ideology and what is driving them.
The birth of a political warrior. Now we go to the beginning to fulfill the promise of understanding the source code. Gabriel takes us to the year 622. This is a turning point Dr. Zak Naik rarely highlights in his peaceful narratives. Gabriel explains the Hijrah, the moment she claims that Islam transitioned from a spiritual faith in Mecca to a political and military powerhouse in Medina. This is a story of how religious movements became a state and how this shift changed the world forever. Here is the clip.
And in order for you to understand this ideology that everybody talks about but nobody really wants to talk about, so I'm going to lay it all out to you right now. And in order for me to do that, I'm going to crunch 1,400 years of history in 5 minutes and make it as exciting as possible. Because I hated history when I was growing up. But those who don't learn from history are what? Doomed to repeated. Oh, I'm talking to a smart group. In order for us to defeat radical Islam, we need to understand what is the ideology. Prophet Muhammad supposedly got his revelation from the angel Gabriel in the early 600s that he is supposed to be the last of the prophets. So he started preaching in his own city, Mecca, telling them about his new religion. And he tried and he tried and he tried for 12 years and failed to recruit any followers except for his immediate family and close friends. So finally he decided after 12 years, forget my people, I'm going to go to the Jews in Medina. And the Jews in Medina was a Jewish business hub, the Jewish business center of Arabia at the time. And he said, I'm going to go to Medina and preach my religion to the Jews. Because if the Jews accept me, that will give me stature and respect in the eyes of my own people. And in order for Muhammad to sell his religion to the Jews, to make it more palpable to them, to accept him, he borrowed a lot from the Old Testament and incorporated it into his new religion, Islam. This is why you see a lot of similarities between Judaism and Islam. For example, Jews don't eat pigs, Muslims don't eat pigs. Jews pray a few times a day, Muslims pray a few times a day. Jews fast on Yom Kippur, Muslims fast on Ramadan. Religious Jews wash their hands before meals, for prayers. Muslims do the same thing. So Muhammad packaged this whole new package deal about the people of the book and the people of the book and went to Medina and started preaching to the Jews. And after he tried, the Jews said, no, thank you. We like our religion. We accept you. You're a nice guy. We welcomed you as our guest in our city. But thank you so much. We are very happy being Jewish and we do not want to become Muslims. We do not want to accept you. And that's when Prophet Muhammad became a military warrior and declared war against them. That's when Islam changed from being a spiritual movement in the first 12 years of Islam into becoming a political movement cloaked in religion. This is why when the Muslims celebrate the New Year, just like the Chinese have the New Year's, the Jews have the New Year's, the Muslims have the New Year. Their New Year is based on the year of the Hijrah, the year Muhammad went to Medina and Islam became a political movement cloaked in religion. They don't consider the New Year, they don't celebrate the New Year based on when Muhammad got his revelation from the angel Gabriel. It's when Muhammad became a military warrior and the political birth of Islam. That's the Islamic New Year.
The blueprint of subjugation. In this final piece of the puzzle, Gabriel reviews the historical blueprint of subjugation. She details the dhimmi system, the law used for centuries to manage non-Muslims. From the Yellow Star, which she claims was an Islamic invention long before the Nazis, to the prohibition of church bells and the jizya tax. She argues that the Crusades weren't unprovoked attacks, but the desperate 11th century counteroffensive. This is a raw, uncomfortable history that Gabriel claims this isn't a new war, but a very old one. This is a raw, uncomfortable history that Gabriel proves this isn't a new war. It is the very old one. Here is a clip.
When the Jews refused to accept Muhammad, he turned against them. He started expelling them out of their homes. He started taking their goods. Jews and Christians became dhimmi under Islam, second-class citizens. Jews were not allowed to blow the shofar. They were not allowed to build temples. They were not allowed to pray publicly. Jews were not allowed to ride horses. They could only ride donkeys. Jews became najis. Najis is the Arabic word for filth, bodily fluid, dogs, all these things that are supposedly cursed by Allah. And Jews and Christians could not ring church bells. Christians could not pray publicly. They could not build churches. So, and the way they paid the jizya or the protection tax was by a monthly ceremony where the Jew or the Christian would kneel on his knees publicly and hand his goods to the mullah, whatever those goods were, happened to be at that time. And in many areas, Jews and Christians were given a receipt to wear around their neck as a necklace to show that they paid or they bought their protection, the jizya, the protection tax. As a matter of fact, Islam came up with identifiable clothing for the Jews. The yellow star, which most people think is a German invention, the yellow star is an Islamic invention by the second Khalif, the Khalif al-Mutawakkil in Iraq, who came up with the yellow star for the Jews to identify the Jews as they walk down the street. Because in that part of the world, everybody looks the same. For the Christians, they came up with the zunar, the belt that all of you men are wearing around your pants. That's called the zunar in Arabic. That was what they came up with to identify the Christians as they walked down the street. This became the fate of the Jews and the Christians under Islam. Islam continued to grow out of Arabia. They went all the way to Jerusalem. They conquered Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, Christians could not ring church bells. In the place of the birth of Christ, the city of Christ, Christians could not ring church bells. Christians could not pray publicly. Christians could not build churches. That's when the Pope in Rome in 1090 looked at the Christians in Europe and said, you need to rise and go defend the Christians and liberate them from the grip of Islam in Jerusalem. That's why the Crusaders were launched in 1090. The Crusaders went to Jerusalem and fought the Muslims, and they were able to liberate the city, but liberated it for less than 80 years. Before 100 years, Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, Saladin, recaptured the city, took it back, and Jerusalem remained under Islamic control until the year 1967, when the State of Israel liberated Jerusalem from the Islamic grip, and Jews, Christians, and Muslims could pray under the same sky. The Crusaders continued fighting the Muslims, but the Crusaders could not win against Islam because Islam was so powerful. The Crusaders fought for 300 years, and finally by the 1300s completely dissipated, gave up and disappeared because they could not defeat Islam. Islam continued to grow. They went all the way into Spain. They went all the way into Central China. They went all the way into Central Europe. They conquered India.
The 14 million Arabs or Coptic Christians are giving witness that Islam was inspired by the sword. You know India? India was ruled for hundreds of years by the Muslims. We didn't use the sword. We didn't use the sword. If few people do a wrong thing, you can't catch up those people and blame the religion for that. If few people don't follow the religion, you can't say that Christianity is bad because Hitler incinerated 6 million Jews. If Hitler incinerated 6 million Jews, burned 6 million Jews, you can't blame Christianity for that. There may be black sheep in every community.
And as they expanded, they changed the names of the cities. Spain became Andalusia. Jerusalem, Jerusalem became Al-Quds. But what's the best way to strip a society out of its identity? Strip it of its language, strip it of its names, and give it a new identity, and that's exactly what they did. And as they expanded, people that they conquered who were not Christians and Jews, the protected people of the book, they were given only two choices, either convert or die. And this is why Islam was responsible for the murder of 70 million Hindus in India. 70 million who refused to convert to Islam.
But we Muslims, we ruled India for hundreds of years. If we wanted, we could have forced every non-Muslim to convert at the point of the sword. We didn't do it. The non-Muslims of India today, more than 80%, they are giving shahada, they are giving witness. You non-Muslims present here are giving witness that Islam was inspired by the sword.
Islam continued to expand. By the 1600s, Islam covered more of the earth's surface than the Roman Empire did at its peak. Let me repeat, Islam covered more of the earth's surface than the Roman Empire did at its peak. And the Roman Empire was pretty big. This is how powerful the Islamic State or the Islamic Caliphate had become.
I'm asking you a question, that we Muslims, we ruled Spain for about 800 years. Later on, the Crusaders came and they wiped out the Muslims. There was not a Muslim who could openly give the azan, the call for prayers. We didn't use any force. You know, we Muslims, we ruled the Arab lands for about 1400 years. For a few years, the Britishers came. For a few years, the French came. But overall, The Muslims were the lordship of the Arab land for 1400 years. Do you know today there are 14 million Arabs who are Coptic Christians? Coptic Christian means they're Christians since generations. Since generations. If the Muslims wanted, they could have converted every non-Muslim at the point of the sword. We didn't do it. The 14 million Arabs or Coptic Christians are giving witness that Islam wasn't spread by the sword.
Between the 1600s and the 1800s, the Europeans were experiencing their European revolution. This is how they figured out how to make products on factory lines and produce products so fast that they can sell in the market, which brought money so fast into the European armies. And that's how they were able to build their armies and grow and strengthen and build weaponry. And this is how the Europeans were able to stop the Muslims at the gates of Vienna on 9/11. The date 9/11 is so symbolic in the Islamic calendar. That's exactly why Osama bin Laden chose to attack America on 9/11.
Gabriel hasn't just delivered a heavy payload of history. Her argument is that the peace claims only looks at the first 12 years of Islam, while the terror reality is rooted in the 1,400 years that followed. Whether you agree with her or not, she has laid out a clear challenge. If we do not understand the political roots of the ideology, we are destined to fight symptoms, while the cause remains unchanged. If you found this breakdown an eye-opener, kindly like, subscribe, and smash the notice bell for more. To watch episode 1 of Gabriel, which focuses on a personal tragedy, click on this link. To watch other Christianity versus Islam deep dives, click on this link.